Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I've put together a tournament guide for holes 1 through 9 of the upcoming Sakura Hills mini tournament. Now, qualifications for this tournament begin on Thursday, August 27th, of which you will have 2 days to qualify, the 27th and 28th, but only 1 day to actually play the tournament, which will be Saturday, August 29th. So it is a little different than the full-size tournament of 18 holes. This is only 9 holes. So your rewards are a little bit less, but because it is smaller, there's going to be a lot more people actually participating in this mini tournament as they usually do. So your ability to score a little bit higher will definitely improve because the people who normally play rookie will be playing pro will be playing expert, and so on. So this is a very good opportunity to get a flag. And this seems to be a relatively simple 9-hole course. So I hope that this guide proves to be helpful for you. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and follow my YouTube page so that you're notified when videos like these or other tutorials become available. So without further ado, good luck and let's get started. So just as with previous tour guides, I'm including balls and clubs that I feel would be most suitable for each hole. Now, for tournaments, you want to take out the big guns. So in my recommendation, leave the basic and marlin balls for regular play, but you want to use any advantage to help you get a better score during tournaments. Now, that's not to say that you can't use balls with less power. The fact that I'm using a power 2 ball proves that. But as you can see, I'm having to overpower this shot to make sure that I clear the bunker. And unfortunately, this is where many people take a bad shot and end up in the rough or sand, resulting in adding another shot to your game to compensate for the loss of distance. Just be careful when selecting your balls. Some balls trade off side spin or wind resistance for power, which may be required in your follow-up shots. That's why these tournament guides are so helpful, because knowing what your follow-up shot is going to require allows you to pick the better ball for the hole in general. So just as with all other long and short iron shots, I'm sizing up the club to see whether I'm taking this shot at minimum, mid, or maximum level. And one of the rules of thumbs that I like to follow is I like to set up my club in a place where I can comfortably use 2 to 3 bars of backspins to make sure that I'm not going to overpower the shot. Another rule of thumb that I go by when taking my shots is staying clear or staying away from the possibility of landing on a different type of surface, because a different type of surface is going to affect your drop and it's going to affect the position or the direction that your ball goes. So for example, in this shot, I'm staying clear of the fringe because I don't know how it's going to affect my shot. If I'm going to drop on the fringe or if I'm going to drop on the rough, I want to make sure that I'm clear from any other surface that's going to affect my shot in general. So to adjust for the wind, I angle the view of the shot so that the wind arrow is pointing straight up. Then I adjust exactly opposite of the direction of the wind, or in other words, directly south, using 1 ring per 1/6 wind as shown in the wind guide at the top of this screen. For hole number 2, I recommend that you use the long iron that you have that gives you a good balance of accuracy and ball guide, because this is a straightforward shot, which means you don't really have to angle this, or you don't need a ball with much side spin. So a navigator or a katana ball is great because it's got a little bit of wind resistance. Now in this particular case, I'm using a backbone level 8, and I'm setting up the blue ring right at the edge of the fringe and the white ring just kind of draping slightly over onto the sand bunker. The only adjustment I would suggest you make, because this wind is behind me, is using 3.5 bars of backspin rather than the 2.5 or 2 3/4 backspin bars that I used in this particular shot, so that you don't overpower the shot.
Nice on.
For hole number 3, I'm recommending a extra mile club and power 3 ball. Now, there's two ways to play this hole. You can either lay up before that sand bunker right in front of you and take a big dog and go over those trees, or you can pass the sand bunker, which is the first option here that I'm showing, and land safely onto the fairway on the other side. Now I'm leaving this video because in this shot I clipped the rough, and which resulted in making the trees that I have there to my left in play, and that makes the second shot a lot more difficult. So make sure that you steer clear of those trees and try to stay a little more towards the right. The most valuable piece of advice I feel that I can provide in these guides is helping players to adjust for circumstances that they were not expected. And that ability to quickly retweak your approach will make you stand out from the other players. Here's a perfect example of what I mean. The fact that I clipped the rough placed me with two challenges. First, because I did not take the ball far enough, I'm now in a spot where I'm in between clubs. So taking a comfortable shot with my long iron just isn't there. Second, because I clipped the rough, I stayed too close to the left, causing the trees to the left to now be in play, or in other words, to be in the way. However, unless the obstacle is immediately in front of you, most of the time you could just simply curl around the object when taking your shot. The way to do this is point your ball guide in a place relatively close to the hole so you know how far your ball is going to go. Then you put your ball guide back in the obstacle's way and curl your shot around that obstacle. Second, you take the shot with the club that is going to provide you with the most amount of accuracy without running the risk of either falling into a sand bunker or coming in too hot. In this case, I curled the ball back enough to drop just before the hole for an easy eagle. For hole number 4, I recommend you use the long iron that you have that provides you with the most amount of ball guide and accuracy, like your Grizzly or your Backbone, and no more than a power 1 ball. Now I'm using a power 3 Titan because this was a result of a shootout. However, you don't need power 3 ball for a shot like this. Now I'm setting up this shot with the yellow ring at the edge or the fringe of the sand bunker and using a half a bar of topspin. You don't need any more than that. In fact, if the wind is behind you, 0 topspin would be just fine to get the ball close or into the hole in this particular shot, which is extremely doable for a hole-in-one. Nice on. Hole number 5 can seem to be a little tricky because of the amount of sand bunkers that it has on the initial shot. However, don't let that mislead you. Actually, the shot is relatively simple. Now, I'm doing an overpower to the right to take advantage of that little green that's on the right hand side, but if you want to play it safe, you could take a shot straight forward with your extra mile using 3 bars of topspin and just going straight down to the front. Now that actually may be a better shot than the approach I took, only because the second shot is going to put you in a very unique situation. This green is elevated, it's brought up, so the shot to get onto the green itself can be a little bit tricky. So as you can see, the second shot here, I am laying up, I'm kind of debating whether or not I should use the rough to slow the ball down, but the rough is not close to the hole, and on top of that, as I mentioned, the green is elevated, so it is a little more difficult. So in other words, the ball is impacted a little bit more by the wind, so just take that into account. You're gonna see that I bring the shot forward with my Backbone, and I'm using a lot of backspin so that I don't overpower the shot, and the ball actually rolls back. But I did not take into account how elevated this green is, so just keep that in mind when you're playing this hole. Now, I adjusted for the shot, did not adjust for the elevation, so I ended up short on this particular shot, and I also shot great, which didn't help. However, it still was a very doable shot for a birdie, but if you're going for an eagle, you definitely need to take those items into consideration. Hole number 6 is a par 5 that I think is a very doable albatross hole, and it can be played in two different ways. You can either play it to the left or to the right, since there is a rough patch with trees right in the center there. Now, the only little caveat about playing to the left is, which is the option that I'm taking here, is that you've got to curl the ball a little bit to the right to make sure that you don't hit the rough to the left. Otherwise, you won't get onto the green on 2. So that's exactly what I'm doing. As long as you're curling it to the right, you should be fine. And you really don't run the risk, unless you're super overpowering this shot and using a power 4 ball, which is not necessary in this particular par 5, to set up here for the next shot. For this second shot, I am using my sniper, and I am going to be using the rough to drop and slow the ball down, which to me, anytime that I have a decent amount of rough, I'm always going to use it, because it's going to allow me to slow the ball down and have the most amount of control. So I'm taking the shot using the ball guide directly at the hole and just passing it slightly so that it can easily reach the hole. Adjusting at maximum level and taking the shot, and I did miss it by a little bit, but I feel that this is a very doable albatross par 5.
Nice on.
Hole number 7 can be played a couple of different ways. I've considered this hole to be a difficult one, but it is definitely manageable. Now, you can use the Saturn and take the shot straight ahead, right before the sand bunker, using maximum backspin and rolling forward and letting the ball drop back. Or you can take this approach that I'm using here, which is a slightly safer approach. However, for this shot, you do need a ball that provides no less than 3 bars of side spin. And the only adjustment that I would make here is I would shoot to drop the ball in front of the hole rather than behind the hole, so that you don't undershoot this hole. But it is definitely doable, and there is a chance of getting a hole in one here.
Nice on.
For hole number 8, I'm using an extra mile and a katana ball, and I'm using the katana ball specifically for its use of side spin. The objective here in this first shot is to lay up and set yourself up for the second shot. Most people are going to want to overpower the shot and see how far they can get, or how close they can get to the green. But this green is elevated and has a very small hallway, if you will, to get up safely. So what I'm doing here is I'm using 1 bar of backspin, and I'm getting close to the rough, adjusting for the wind and curling the ball to the right, so that I don't get close to the left rough. I want to stay as far right as possible, so I can take advantage of that little hall of fairway, if you will. And so you're going to notice that where I drop is very close to the rough. So I would be careful with that. Maybe lay yourself up a little bit more to the left just to play it safe. But it's going to make the difference on the second shot. As you can see, the sand bunker is still going to be in play, but I've got enough green, I've got enough fairway where I can use it to drop my ball and really be able to point towards the hole. And the power 2 ball, the katana, with the 3 levels of side spin, 3 bars of side spin, is allowing me to get very, very close to this hole. Now, I didn't eagle this shot, but this is a very doable eagle, as long as you are following the first shot, which is staying as close to the right, as safely close to the right as possible. In my opinion, hole number 9 is the more difficult of the holes in this tournament. Now, don't let that concern you. You just got to make sure that you're shooting both of these 2 shots as accurate as possible. You're definitely going to want to take out the big guns for this, guys. I would use, if you've got it, a power 5 ball, because you want to get the ball as far up the fairway as possible. Now I'm using a power 4 ball, and I switched to a big topper only because my big topper was aligned with my big dog, and I need the big dog for the second shot. However, otherwise I would have done fine with the extra mile, but I got with the ball where I needed it to go with the big topper. Depending on how developed your big topper is, how much power it has, it could definitely be your go-to driver. But here you just got to make sure that you shoot it straight down the middle, and if you're going to overpower the shot, just try to stay in the center as much as possible, because there is a lot of rough in this shot. And if you do hit the rough, unfortunately, it's going to be almost impossible for an eagle. So as you're going to see on this second shot, this is what I mean by needing to really be able to power this shot. Now, even with a level 6 big dog and a power 4 ball, I'm still struggling to get up to the green. Now, I managed to get it onto the green. However, I did clip the rough onto the left. Spoiler alert. And I was able to make it on the third shot. But to avoid that, if you do have a power 5 ball, guys, this is where you need to take it out to make sure that you can get onto the green just a little bit easier. And if your big dog is still underdeveloped, I don't think you're going to do very well in getting an eagle in the shot unless you do use a power 5 ball. So this third shot allows for the opportunity to provide another tip. You're going to notice that I'm using a Firefly wedge, and I really like using this club even at an advanced level, because it is the wedge that provides the most amount of topspin. So what you're going to notice is that the more you're able to pull the ball closer to you, or rather the target closer to you, the smaller the bullseye actually gets. That means that the shot becomes more accurate the closer that the target is to you. So that's why this particular club is so effective in getting shots near the green. Guys, thanks again for watching. I hope this video proves to be helpful for you. Please let me know what you thought of the video, and provide comments so that I know how else I can continue to tweak these videos. And as always, good luck out there, have fun, and see you out there in the course. Thanks.